4 of Write an A+ essay with me. And today we are going to write our intro and our conclusion. Now, if you've gone through this whole step-by-step process with me, we are on day 4. So if you missed parts 1 through 3 or days 1 through 3, they are in the description. You can grab those there along with the handouts. There's a link in the description as well to grab the handouts I'll be using today. But if you've joined me from all of those sections, 1 through 3, now we are on 4, you will know that we saved the intro and the conclusion until the end because intros and conclusions are really difficult to write. You sit there with a blank page and you're like, I don't know what to write. If you've right out the gate, you want to write an intro, it's not going to work. We actually started with the detailed paragraphs and all of the information we needed to get together for that. Now our brain is full of info and all of the different things we talked about. Now writing an intro and a conclusion is going to be so much easier, and we have AI. So we are going to use AI, but we are going to use it in a way that enhances our writing. We're not just taking the first, paragraph that AI generates and turning it into our teacher. Just like in all these sections, we are revising, we're asking it to tweak this and change that. And I'm going to show you how to do that today. So today is intro and conclusion. My name is Kathleen Jasper. I am a former high school teacher and assistant principal. I went out to start my own business in teacher certification and in college prep. Started there for many years. I have another company that helps teachers pass their certification exams. Now I help students pass SAT, ACT, everything, or get the scores they want. And today we are actually veering away from that a little bit and doing some essay help these last 4 days because I know everybody needs this skill. It's a tough one. And so we're working on it today. So let's recap briefly what we've done days 1 through 3 quickly, and then we'll move into day 4, which is intro and conclusion. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you. And we are going to go entire screen here. Let me just push this over there. All right. And you can see that we have my essay checklist here. Now, one of the things that we did is we went through this together, right? We actually built this together in, I believe, day 1. We went through the task that the teacher asked us, and let's just go back to the task very quickly. And again, this handout is there for you. And this was our task. Remember, we had this essay map over here, and we filled it out by hand, but then we turned it into that nice checklist that I'm going over with you there. And so I just want to grab here and see if I'm live. And so let's see, are we live? Yes, we are. And so, sorry about that. We are going to take this task with the teachers, what she gave us, and then we are going to turn it into a nice sort of structure that we built together in day 1. All right. So basically what we needed to do was we needed to define what constitutes a social movement. And we decided that this would be really good for the intro because remember, we weren't really sure about our social movements. We weren't really sure what we were going to choose. Now we know we're in day 4, but when we started, we didn't know what we were going to choose. And we knew that defining a social movement like as an overarching thing would be really good for an intro because an intro is like sort of introduces things. So the definition would be good. Then she asked us to select at least 2 historical examples of social movements, which we did. We didn't like the examples she gave us. So we went out into ChatGPT and said, hey, what were the last 500 years worth of social movements like? Can you give me a brief description and name each one? And we decided to do the French Revolution and the Occupy Wall Street movement. One was set in the 1700s, one was set in the 2010s. And we thought that that was a really good kind of matchup. And we looked through ChatGPT about all of those and the internet and stuff like that. And we kind of came up with what we understood about those. We analyzed the successes and limitations of each. Then we decided to take a clear stance. The reason why we didn't take a stance in the beginning, which was the first part of this task, which was to take a stance for or against this statement. Social movements are the most effective means of achieving lasting societal change. We weren't sure when we first saw that. We weren't sure. We kind of agreed with it. We kind of didn't. And we were like, let's do the research, which we did here. And then we were ready to take a stance. And we decided that taking this stance would be a good thesis, and that would go into our intro. All right. And then, of course, we incorporated the primary and secondary resources, which we just did a whole thing yesterday on day 3 on that particular skill. So if you have no idea how to deal with citations and you're not sure how to incorporate them in your paper, you're going to see them in our final paper today, but we really worked on those yesterday. So definitely go back and check out that video if you have not seen it yet. And then based on what the teacher asked us, we kind of filled out this map here. We went intro and details, and we sort of mapped it all out here. And we came up with this nice sort of checklist to like do the structure. And this checklist or this structure met all of the things about the task. First, we decided to start with our detail paragraphs because it's easier to write the details, honestly. And the majority of the grade comes from the details. And so we decided that detail paragraph 1 would be French Revolution. Detail paragraph 2 would be Occupy Wall Street. It was very easy for us because she said pick 2 social movements. And so we decided that's perfect, 2 detail paragraphs, right? We briefly discussed the French Revolution and we analyze the successes and limitation. And we do the exact same thing for the Occupy Wall Street paragraph. We briefly discussed the Occupy Wall Street movement and we analyzed the success and limitations. And all the while we were doing that, we used one primary source and one secondary source for French Revolution. And we did the same thing for our Occupy Wall Street. Now that we have built those paragraphs, now writing the intro is easy. First, we already know that we want the definition of the social movement to be in there. Okay. And then we want our thesis to be whether we agree or disagree with the following. Social movements are the most effective means of achieving lasting societal change. All right. So let's go ahead and have a look at actually, I'm going to have a look at our final here because we talked about this yesterday. Now, here is the intro, but we're going to wait on that. Hang on. So we finally got ChatGPT to write these paragraphs the way we wanted them. It started off with an okay paragraph, and then we asked for better sources because we realized our sources were like books and sort of not what we needed. We needed online articles. We found a really good primary source for the French Revolution. But our initial primary source for the Occupy Wall Street was a photograph, and we actually wanted like a speech. So after asking ChatGPT a few things, it finally came up with this Bernie Sanders quote from a speech, which was our primary source here. So notice we have a primary source in our French Revolution, which was the National Assembly of France speech. And then we had a primary source for the Occupy Wall Street, which was the Sanders speech. And then as we were discussing the successes and limitations, we were able to grab a source. In this case, it was Ace Monglou et al. And all the other authors on this talking about the things that the movements did right and the things that the movements did wrong, the successes and the failures. So we did that for the French Revolution. And for the Occupy Wall Street, we did the same thing. We just used this Gitlin. We found this Gitlin source that was really good. And we even asked ChatGPT to summarize these sources for us so we didn't have to read them all. And now we have these 2 detailed paragraphs with everything that we needed. We needed to discuss a social movement. We needed to have a primary and secondary source, and we needed to discuss the limitations and the successes. And we did all that in each paragraph. We did it for the French Revolution, and we did it for the Occupy Wall Street. Now, the only thing that's left is the intro and the conclusion. Now, what I like to do is now that we have sort of written our detailed paragraphs, we can certainly upload that into ChatGPT. But what I did was, and let me see if I can find my old chat here. I actually gave it what I wanted it to have. Remember, we wanted that definition of a social movement, and we wanted our thesis, whether we agreed or disagreed. And based on what we had learned about the French Revolution and about the Occupy Wall Street movement, is we learned that they were very powerful and that they certainly helped to bring the movement to the forefront. People saw them on TV. They got a lot of attention, right? Not TV, French Revolution, Occupy Wall Street. The French Revolution was very impactful. It was very terrifying. It changed sort of the culture and things like that. But there were limitations. There wasn't lasting change based on these specific movements. Not saying it wasn't a catalyst to maybe change down the line and more movements down the line, but it really didn't have an immediate impact, we said, lasting impact. What we need are the policy changes and the government, and along with the social movements, we need that policy change. And so we decided that we were going to disagree with the statement, social movements are the most effective thing Okay. And so I asked ChatGPT to write me an intro paragraph based on this. Now, I can't really find it, so I might go ahead and just write a new one. Let me go ahead and Control F here. Let me just have a look at this before I share screen with you. So we're going to do intro. Let me just see. Intro paragraph, intro. Here it is. Okay, here we go. I'm going to share this with you now. All right. So again, now that we know what our details paragraphs are, we are able to, and you can see here are our details. We're able to do this intro. We said we wanted to have the definition of what constitutes a social movement and whether we agree or disagree. And we decided to disagree here. So I'm going to use everything we did, and I'm going to ask ChatGPT, hey, can you define what constitutes a social movement in like 2 or 3 sentences? And it said, of course, a social movement is a sustained, organized effort by a large group of people to promote or resist social political change, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it's good. It's a definition. All right. Now, a lot of people would just copy and paste that. Oh, boop, that's done. But that's sort of, we said we want to be on the varsity team, right? That would be pretty JV to like grab this and throw it in there. It's a beginner stage. What we want to do is judge this up. Okay. And I said, hey, can you be a little more creative with it? I'm particularly interested in the French Revolution or Occupy Wall Street. I probably could have even uploaded my paper so far, what I've written, but I just threw this in here to see. And then it got real creative. It was like, a social movement is a collective rising, a surge of people who refuse to accept the world as it is. And then it says, whether storming the Bastille in 1789 or camping in Zuccotti Park in 2011. So, and it goes in this thing. And I'm thinking that sounds a little too over the top for me, right? I'm a high school student. I don't have this sort of creative. I mean, this is going to be a no-brainer to my teacher that I got this off AI. Let's just pare that down a bit. And I said, I'm in high school and need to simplify this paragraph some. And it said, got it. And then it gave me what I wanted to use. A social movement happens when a group of people comes together to demand big changes in society, whether it's the crowds in Paris during the French Revolution or protesters in Occupy Wall Street. Social movements show what can happen when ordinary people focus on forces to challenge unfair systems. I grabbed this. I don't like this. I kept that off. So I got this, and now I'm going to use that. Notice it's my 3rd iteration. It wasn't my first. It gets better and better as you ask it to sort of tweak things, okay? And this is going to make for a better intro paragraph. Now, did AI help me? Yeah, absolutely. But did I read what AI gave me and then asked it to adapt it and then read it again and asked it to adapt it again? This is like how we are going to be using AI to make the very best outputs that we want. And in this case, this is the one I like. Okay. And so then I gave it this. So this is a little later. Now let's go to and let me just, I think we're here. Okay. Let's go up here. Now, one thing that I did from the, and let me move this towards here. One thing I did is I liked this sentence here, whether it's the crowds in Paris during the French Revolution or protesters on Occupy Wall Street, social movements show what can happen when ordinary people join forces to challenge unfair systems. I thought that AI's second sentence in what it gave me was better than the first. Have a look. I switched these 2 sentences, whether it's the crowds in Paris. Notice this was the second sentence. Their first sentence was the actual definition, but I liked it with a hook like this. I like that creative part to be the first thing so that the person reads on. And then I gave it a definition here. Okay. A social movement is a sustained effort, blah, blah, blah. This includes protests, sit-ins, and boycotts. And then I want my thesis statement here. Now, I asked AI to help me with the thesis statement. I said, and I don't know if I can find it. Let's see if I can find thesis. Here we go. So I put it in here, whether it's the crowds in Paris during the French Revolution or protesters on Occupy Wall Street. I gave it the intro that I wrote so far. And I said, can you write me a thesis statement to go with this? And I say, I do not agree with the statement because social movements need lasting change through laws and government. I gave it my position. Okay. And it said, sure, of course, it's going to write it for me. And it says, while social movements can raise awareness and inspire action, blah, 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 you need permanent change required by laws. Okay. And I believe that's the one that I used. Let's go back here. I think I asked it again to include French Revolution and Occupy Wall Street because those were the two I was going to do. Probably did that later and said, although movements like the French Revolution, Occupy Wall Street effectively mobilized public sentiment and forced issues into the national agenda, they could not secure enduring reform without the passage of concrete laws. Notice that I went from this, actually, this is above. Yeah. So this is my thesis. I do not agree with that, right? And I say that it clearly states whether you disagree and it matches. You know what? I did like this part here, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add this in front of my thesis statement here. After this includes protests, sit-ins, and boycotts, I'm going to put that in there. While social movements can raise awareness and inspire action, they are not the most effective means. And then I say, although movements like the French Revolution, and why am I saying this? Because my next paragraph is going to be the French Revolution, and Occupy Wall Street effectively mobilized public sentiment, they could not secure enduring reform without the passage of laws. So this furthermore reinforces what I'm saying up here that I do not agree. And then I move into the French Revolution. All right, so let's evaluate this intro. First, I grabbed that hook that I really liked from AI. Then I gave the definition, which was part of the task that the teacher gave me in the very beginning. Then I added a little example. This includes sit-ins, protests, blah, blah, blah. And then I go into my thesis, which in this case is sort of the last two sentences of the first paragraph. Could be just the last one. You could have stopped here. I could have taken that off. It would have worked fine. While social movements can raise awareness and inspire action, they are not the most effective means. So I clearly am stating that I do not believe they are the most effective means because true permanent change requires laws, policies, and government reforms. Now, just to zhuzh it up a bit, because I will be giving the French Revolution as an example, and I will be giving the Occupy Wall Street as an example, I went ahead and added this little bit here to kind of tease out my thesis so that the two detail paragraphs really go back to that thesis, the French Revolution and Occupy Wall Street. Also, it ties back into the French Revolution, Occupy Wall Street in the first sentence. So you could do that. But again, that's a little bit more advanced. It also works with just what you got from the Chat GPT. That's fine. I'm going to leave it because I want mine to be a little bit more in the A+ range. And then we go into our awesome detailed paragraphs here with our primary and secondary sources. All right. So the intro is done. And notice that I wrote my details first, which made for a much, much better intro. And I used AI, and this was like the third or fourth iteration of it. Okay. Now the conclusion. I hate writing conclusions. So all I did was I grabbed paragraph 1, 2, and 3, and I threw it into Chat GPT and I said, can you write me a conclusion? And it gave me this really good conclusion. This is probably the third or fourth iteration. I asked it to do something else, and it came up with this. Basically, social movements like the French Revolution, Occupy Wall Street demonstrate a power of collective action. Okay, good. And then it says both movements successfully mobilized people. Now we go to the counter. However, without clear structures, leadership, concrete reforms, these changes are not going to last. And I could have done that. That would be fine too. Just 3 sentences would have been fine, but I went ahead and did one more. The experiences of these movements shown enduring progress requires not just bold ideas and mass mobilization, but also hard work. It's sort of redundant, but conclusions are kind of redundant. You're sort of saying the same thing again and again to let the person know you're wrapping it up. I hate writing conclusions. So I went ahead and let AI write that for me. And again, this was probably my second or third iteration of that, just asking it to zhuzh it up a bit. Okay. And now we have our paper. And at the end of our paper, we have our references. And you know what? I want to make sure I teach you this. Take out the hyperlink with your references here. It's always good to remove the hyperlink. It makes it more academic. I don't know why. Obviously, hyperlinks are very convenient because you can click them and go check. But when you are talking about APA formatting, and you would not use this header in your APA formatting, I put that in there just because I want you to know this is the APA final essay. And this one is the MLA final essay. On APA or MLA, you would not have these in the heading, but I just have them there because I want you to be able to see the MLA and the APA. They were 2 different essays. It's just how we cite different sources. And you'll see that in day 3. But you can see here, we have my works cited page and my hyperlinks are gone. Take out the hyperlinks. It's better. Okay. And of course, it's nicely formatted here. And remember, I showed you exactly how to format these references yesterday in day 3. Towards the end, we did a whole thing on hanging indents and double spaces and how to do it. You're not going to use the enter key and all that. We're actually going to do it through the paragraph tab. And you can see this is a hanging indent. This is double spaced. We've got everything worked out. Let me show you here without the works cited part. Go here. See, hanging indent by 0.5. I showed you how to do all that in one swoop. And it's alpha order here, A to Z. And so I showed you how to do that yesterday. So definitely check out that video if you want to know how to format this, okay? And this whole thing is double spaced here and everything looks good and I'm ready to turn it in. But I want to do one more thing before I turn it in. I want to check it against the rubric that my teacher gave me. All right. And we are going to do that tomorrow. Now, let me just give you a quick, the teacher gave us this rubric. And what we're going to do is we are going to use this rubric with ChatGPT to check our essay and to implement any changes that ChatGPT might feel that we need to do to make sure we are in this 3 to 4 column. I feel like 3 to 4 is good. If we're here, we definitely need help, right? But if we're here, between these two, I'm good. Some of you want all 4s. You want ChatGPT to give you all 4s. Okay, fine, we'll get there. But tomorrow we'll have a look at this rubric, check it against our amazing essay that we took some time to write using AI, using our thoughts, using the internet, using sources, using all the things our teacher wants us to use. And then we're going to plug in this rubric and ask ChatGPT, hey, did I meet it? Where am I here? And it'll tell you exactly. And I'm going to show you how to do that tomorrow, okay? All right. So that is the end of today's session. Let me show you where to get more resources. So of course, you want to go to KMJ Learning. This is our website. If you want the handouts that go with today, and that's everything, it'll be in a PDF form, just go over here to free prep and you enter your email and first name. You can indicate if you're a parent or a student. I know some parents watch us, but lots of students do too. So let us know. We have different resources for parents and different resources for students. And then once you do that, you will be taken to a thank you page. And on it are the handouts for the essay workshop. We also have practice questions from my lives for SAT prep. These are really awesome. These are 3 and 4 pages long or more with complete. And let me go ahead and share screen with you there so you can see that these are, let me zoom in on those. These are really, really good practice test questions. And you'll be able to download those and watch them on YouTube with me. Again, let me show you here. And follow along or even do these later. We always do 3 reading and writing, and we always do 3 math for SAT. And I go through the Desmos calculator and I do the whole thing. So definitely check those out. They correspond with our YouTube videos for that time. We go live on YouTube for all different things. And for a week or so, we did all SAT. This week, we're doing writing. I'll probably go back to SAT next week. So definitely have a look at our lives. We are there all the time. And then another place where you can find us along with YouTube, obviously, is going to be our TikTok page. I'm actually a little more popular on TikTok right now. I have another TikTok that is much more well attended than this one, but this one is specifically, I just started for KMJ Learning College Prep. So all this has to do with college prep, writing, Desmos calculator, SAT, all these different things. So definitely follow me over there because once I get to 1,000, I'll be doing lives on TikTok, but I can't until I reach 1,000. So go check us out over there. Of course, we are on Instagram, Facebook, KMJ Learning. And if you have any questions or you want me to film something, or maybe you have an assignment that you're really stuck on, you can put it in the comments and I will do my best to record something as soon as possible and even turn it into some content because that's how I get a lot of my ideas. So anywho, I hope you enjoyed today. Work on that writing. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you tomorrow for the rubric overview, wrap up, fine tuning, and turning our paper in.